they deserved to have their story told.
Hey, are you Chris?
A lot of it wasn't adding up.
The disappearance of a pregnant Frederick woman and her 2 children.
On August 13th, 2018, a horrific crime shook the quiet town of Frederick, Colorado. A seemingly happy and loving family was torn apart by a brutal act of violence. A husband and father, Chris Watts, murdered his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their 2 young daughters, Bella and Celeste. He then tried to cover up his crime by disposing of their bodies at an oil well site where he worked. What drove him to commit such a heinous act? How did he manage to deceive everyone around him? Let's find out. Frederick, Colorado, is a small town located about 30 miles north of Denver. It is known for its scenic views, friendly community, and low crime rate. It was here that Chris and Shanann Watts moved in 2013 after living in North Carolina for several years. They bought a spacious 5-bedroom house in a new subdivision and seemed to have everything they ever wanted. Chris and Shanann met online in 2010 and got married in 2012. Chris was a quiet and reserved man who worked as an operator for Anadarko Petroleum, an oil and gas company. Shanann was a bubbly and outgoing woman who worked as a sales representative for Lavelle, a multi-level marketing company that sells health and wellness products. She was also a passionate advocate for lupus awareness, as she suffered from the autoimmune disease herself. Together, they had 2 beautiful daughters, Bella, who was 4 years old, and Celeste, who was 3 at the time of the incident. Shanann was also pregnant with their 3rd child, a boy they planned to name Nico. But behind the happy facade, the Watts family was facing some serious problems. They were struggling financially, as they had accumulated a lot of debt from their mortgage, car loans, credit cards, and medical bills. They had filed for bankruptcy in 2015 and were still trying to pay off their creditors. Things got worse when Chris started having an affair with a coworker, Nicole Kessinger, in June 2018. He met her at work and was attracted by her carefree and adventurous personality. He lied to her about his marital status and told her that he was separated and in the process of getting a divorce. He also lied to Shanann about his whereabouts and spent more time with Nicole than with his family. He became distant and cold towards Shanann and stopped wearing his wedding ring. He also lost a lot of weight and changed his appearance and style. Shanann sensed that something was wrong and tried to save their marriage. She also surprised Chris with the news of their 3rd pregnancy, hoping that it would bring them closer together. But Chris was not interested. Shanann was devastated and confided in her friends and family. On August 9, 2018, Shanann left for a business trip to Arizona with her friend and colleague Nicole Atkinson. She hoped that the time apart would make Chris miss her and reconsider his decision. But Chris had other plans. He used the opportunity to see Nicole more often and to finalize his divorce. On August 13, 2018, Shanann returned from Arizona and arrived at her home around 1:48 a.m. She was dropped off by Nicole, who noticed that Chris's truck was parked in the driveway. Nicole was worried about Shanann, as she had not heard from her since the night before. She tried to call and text her but got no response. She also tried to ring the doorbell but no one answered. She thought that maybe Shanann was sleeping, or that her phone was dead. She decided to leave and to check on her later. But later never came. Shanann did not show up for a doctor's appointment that morning, nor did she answer any of Nicole's messages or calls. Nicole became increasingly concerned and decided to go back to the house. She knocked on the door and looked through the windows but saw no sign of Shanann or the girls. She also noticed that Shanann's car was still in the garage and that her purse, phone, and keys were inside the house. She realized that something was very wrong and called the police. The police arrived at the house around 1:40 p.m. and contacted Chris, who was at work. He said that he had no idea where Shanann or the girls were and that he had not spoken to them since he left for work around 5:15 a.m. He said that he assumed that Shanann had taken the girls to a friend's house. Chris said that he was worried about their safety and that he wanted them to come back. The police noticed that Chris's behavior was suspicious and that he seemed nervous and evasive. They decided to review the surveillance footage from the neighbor's security camera. The neighbor, Nate, had a security camera that captured the front of the Watts house. The footage from the night before and the morning of the disappearance shows Shanann arriving at the house and entering through the front door. It also shows Chris backing up his truck into the garage and loading something into the back. The footage does not show Shanann or the girls leaving the house or anyone else entering or exiting. The police were alarmed by the footage and by Chris's reaction. He seemed nervous and fidgety and kept looking away from the screen. He also made some inconsistent and contradictory statements, but the police were not convinced by his story and decided to take him to the police station for further interrogation. They also obtained a warrant to search his phone, his truck, and his work site. They also contacted Nicole Kessinger, who confirmed that she was having an affair with Chris and that he had lied to her about his marriage. At the police station, Chris was subjected to a polygraph test, which he failed miserably. He was then confronted by the police, who told him that they knew he was lying and that they had evidence against him. Chris then broke down and confessed that he had killed Shanann, but claimed that it was in self-defense. What exactly happened on that fateful day is that after Shanann arrived at the house, she went to the master bedroom, where Chris was waiting for her. They slept together, and in the morning of the very next day, they both got into an argument when Chris told her that he wanted a separation and that he did not love her anymore. Shanann got angry and told him that he would never see the kids again. But Chris did not let her take the kids. He strangled her to death and then he wrapped her body in a sheet. He then took Shanann's body and the girls and drove to the oil well site, where he dug a shallow grave and buried Shanann's body. He then opened the hatches of 2 oil tanks and dropped the girls inside. He did not care that they were his flesh and blood and that they had loved him unconditionally. He then tried to cover up his crime and act as if nothing had happened. He contacted the children's school and told them that they would not be attending that day, or ever again. But his attempts were futile, and his lies were exposed. He confessed to the police and revealed the details of his crime. He also revealed his motive, which was as simple as it was selfish. He wanted to get rid of his family so that he could be with Nicole. He wanted to start a new life, without any responsibilities or consequences. He wanted to be happy at the expense of everyone else. Some speculated that Chris had suffered from a mental breakdown, a personality disorder, or a psychotic episode. But none of these explanations could justify or excuse his actions. None of these factors could absolve him of his guilt. None of these reasons could bring back his family. Chris had acted with premeditation and without remorse. He had planned the murders for weeks and had executed them with precision. He had shown no emotion or regret and had lied until the very end. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, after pleading guilty to 5 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and 3 counts of tampering with a deceased human body. He was spared the death penalty after Shanann's family agreed to a plea deal, in exchange for him revealing the location of the bodies. He was sent to a maximum security prison in Wisconsin, where he was placed in protective custody for fear of being attacked by other inmates. But his sentence was not enough to heal the wounds, or to fill the void, or to ease the pain. In conclusion, the case of the Watts family murders was one of the most shocking and disturbing crimes in recent history that defied logic and reason, and that challenged our understanding of human nature and behavior. Do you think Chris even deserved to become a father of 2 innocent girls? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more content like this.